And it might feel like all the good niches are taken, and that might be true to some extent, of course. Sometimes we feel like this guy when we're seeing just how crowded the blogging space seems to be, or this guy when we're trying to find a good niche. I don't think you can find any topic where there's not some websites or blogs writing about that already. That doesn't mean that it's oversaturated, not at all. I want you to go with a niche where there's enough room for one more blogger, and there's a ton of niches out there to go for. So first I'll share with you some of the niches where there's a ton of room still, and then I'll also tell you about some niches and some basic verticals to stay away from altogether, because they are definitely saturated. I've been blogging for many years now, and it's been a long time since I started out my first niche site. And I started 4 or 5 new sites over the last year in completely different niches. So I'm inside this niche selection thing all the time. I'm constantly looking for niches where I think I can make the most money, or that I think will do really well for a blog. So let me share some of the best tips with you. So you want to go for topics where you have a lot of people searching for it, because you need a ton of eyeballs. The bigger the niche is, the more cracks you'll be able to find. And when I say crack, I mean an article that's not written already by a bigger website. And we typically find these niches around hobbies and sport and outdoors, crafts, maybe a specific pet that you have knowledge about, or gardening. So you see, big interest and topics that people do in their time off. So it's something that people want to research when they have enough time to really dig into it. So you might be thinking that the bigger the niche is, the more competition there is, and maybe you should stay away from all the bigger topics out there. That's not how it works. Because if you're going with a really big niche, there'll be way more opportunities for you to find an article in the little topic that's not written on already. And that's exactly the type of article you're going to be writing for the first many articles on your site. You want to stay away from all the competitive stuff, because it's much harder to rank in Google when there's these big websites already ranking up there. You won't stand a chance. So start out with teeny tiny topics, and that means that we need to dive into a big niche with a lot of eyeballs. So even the teeny tiny topics will have searches, and that leaves opportunities for new websites to get in there. So how do we find niches where it's easy to get traffic and it's easy to find topics to write on that hasn't been written already by these bigger websites? That's probably the most important skill you're going to learn over the next months and over the next year as you're starting out with a new blog, or if you're getting into this for the first time. Let me show you on the screen here how I always check a lot of searches before I go into a niche. I want you to do at least 50 or 100 searches in Google within your niche on specific topics before you decide if this is a good niche, or if it's oversaturated, or if there's space for one more blogger. Let me show you here how I do this. So in order to make this as real as possible, I have decided not to prepare myself beforehand, because it would be too easy to just find a niche where there's a ton of cracks and then just list them all one by one, So I want to show you the real process of how I do this. So now I'm going to look into the niche of chess playing, and I haven't done this research before, so it's real time over the shoulder here, right? All right, so bear with me if it doesn't work out too quickly. It's typically good to start with questions, and if I start something like "is chess," then the first one here would definitely have a ton of searches, because these suggestions from Google here, they are listed in the order that Google think you will click it. So most people are probably continuing this sentence by typing "a sport," and then good for your brain. So the topic here at the top would be a total winner. If we could find anything here, I'd say it's a good niche probably. So normally you won't find anything here. You want to start typing a letter, because now we're narrowing down to everything that starts with A and B and C and so on. So that's one of the first things you can do to see what's the competition here. But let's, for fun, just try and check out what happens if we take this one. Is chess a sport? And of course we'll have a huge site here, probably. Yeah, chess.com. And probably some huge sites. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense. So let's try and dig a few steps deeper here. And and give it the letter A. Is chess a board game, Olympic sport? So now I'm trying to see if I can find a search phrase here, which is probably not as popular. So there might be a crack for me to write an article. And everything that's listed here will be a good article for a new website. I mean, since it's showing up here, it's definitely getting searched by at least some people. Is chess a zero-sum game? Is chess a strategy game? Is chess a waste of time? Let's try with B. Is chess boxing a sport? Is chess beneficial? Is chess becoming more popular? I wonder if anybody wrote that article. Is chess growing or losing popularity worldwide? That's Quora. That's something we can typically beat. Chess.com, how popular is chess? It's pretty close. Chess.com, is chess increasing or decreasing popularity? So there it is. It's totally written before. Let's try something else here. Is chess British? Is chess based on war? Let's try D. Is chess difficult to learn? Dying, difficult, dead, dangerous, down, difficult to play. Is chess educational? That's probably written. Is chess English? Is chess fun to play? I assume all these are written, but if I was really going for this one, I would probably check all of them. But now I'm just trying to see if I can find something that's probably not been written before. Is chess good for your brain? Good for you? Is chess gambling? Is chess harder than checkers? Is chess harmful? Harder than Go? Is chess just memorization? That's a funny one. Is chess anything more than memorization? Okay, it's a forum, so that's great. And this is a forum too. Is chess a game of memorization and study? So this is from chess.com, so maybe the other ones was a forum as well. Maybe I was too quick on the judging. Let's just check this out. So number one is a forum. That's definitely a good thing because we can always beat a forum. Is chess a game of memorization? This is also a forum, looking really, really good. So if number one and number two is a forum, we can definitely beat it. This is a winner. So let's say you could find 10 or 15 articles like this, or preferably like 20 or 30 articles like this. This is a skill you need to learn. You need to learn to find these topics that hasn't been written well before. And when you find those cracks, you know that you can probably get in. I would say this was a tough one. I had to get to the letter, what was it, H or I or something like that before I found a potential crack, I think. So if you're just starting out, this would probably take you half an hour, I suppose. So do this over and over and over again until you have a list of topics where there's not a lot of competition, where you're finding a forum or Quora or Reddit or Yahoo Answers, you know, thin user-generated content, not long articles from big sites. When you find that, you have a good list to start out from and you have found a good niche. But I'll also say you can get lost in this process and you can easily stay here and never move on to the next phase, which of course is to decide on a domain name and actually get started blogging. At some point you need to decide that now you're just gonna do it and start. It can be very overwhelming, and if this is the first time you're doing this, you might not be good at finding these articles that hasn't been written yet, but you will learn that, and eventually you need to move on to set a deadline and a limit for yourself on how much time you want to stay in this phase that we call niche selection. It's not the last website you're going to do, and you will learn a ton from it. Also, if you get started in a niche that's not 100% perfect. The next question I really want to answer for you is, should you follow your passion? Should you do a blog about what you really care about, or should you try to find another niche based on how saturated it is? Well, the short answer is, it depends on what niche you have in mind and what your passion is. But generally my answer here is yes. You should go with something where you have some passion, or you have some interest at least in the topic itself. Because it'll be much easier to motivate yourself to keep writing, because you're going to write a lot of content if you're not outsourcing early on, which I wouldn't advise you to do. I want you to learn how to write good proper articles that ranks well in Google before you start outsourcing. But if your passion is within health, let's say you are all about fitness or eating right, or it's about financial stuff, then you should probably not follow your passion. Not this passion. And I hope you have other passions that you also care about. Because it's really hard to get started in the niches that Google categorized as YMYL. That stands for Your Money, Your Life. I don't want to get into that right now because I did that a couple of times. Just check out the video up here. But it's all the topics about health and financial advice and something that impacts people's life or their kids or their wealth, their income and so on. These topics are really hard to rank for. So if that's your passion, then think twice and at least watch this video before you get started. But you can also think about here what your plan is in terms of writing the content. If you're absolutely sure that you're not going to write this content and you know you'll be outsourcing early on, you can definitely much easier go for a topic where you're not that personally invested in it. Because if you're not going to write it, it doesn't require all that passion from your part. Then you just need to find writers who are passionate about it. I have niches that I absolutely don't care about at all because my writers do, and I found a good dedicated writer who knows everything about this niche, and they write awesome content for me week after week. So if that is the route you're taking, then you don't need to think as much about passion here. So let me get back to my main point in this video. It's all about doing proper research before you start writing. It's not so much about the niche. We just need to make sure that the niche is big enough for you to find those articles that hasn't been well written when we're starting out. So I think any niche can work today. I mean, if it's just big enough, you will be able to find those articles that hasn't been written well before. And this topic research and finding out what articles to write and which to stay away from is going to be one of the most important skills you need to learn in order to make this work, in order to crack into this space. Check out this video up here where I'm helping Thomas finding topics for his new site. I'm doing a site review in this video, and I spent some time doing an over-the-shoulder video where I'm showing you exactly how I find topics to write on that I can rank for and that I know will get traffic with a new website. Personally, I have 2 websites out of my whole portfolio of sites that I'm passionate about. But all the other websites I have, I'm not personally invested in those, like emotionally. And I don't have to be, because I have writers who take good care of them. I also want you to check out the link I left in the description. There I have a link to more than 200 niches that I think works well with a new blog today. So if you're starting out and you need your brain to just get started on the right track, check out that blog post because it will really help you trying to think in the right direction. And also subscribe to my channel because I have a ton of videos coming out for you guys. They are all tailored exactly to people like you who are starting out with a new blog, trying to find the right niche, finding the right domain, and all the questions you will have down the line as you get started. So give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you guys in the next video.